What if I told you you would never have your favorite soft drink ever again? This nightmare happened in 1985, but people don't remember it correctly. We are about to tell you what really happened, but first, we have to go somewhere you would never expect. This story starts with Roberto Goizueta, born in Havana, Cuba on November 18, 1931. He barely spoke English, but that didn't stop him from studying chemistry at Yale. He didn't want to work on his family's sugar plantation in Cuba, so he applied to a company that was looking for a bilingual chemical engineer, Coca-Cola Cuba. He married his high school sweetheart while working at his dream job. His future couldn't shine any brighter. But one infamous individual came in and ruined the salsa party. Fidel Castro. Yes, the same Castro that you are looking at right now, enjoying that delicious bottle of Coca-Cola. The Goizuetas lost everything and had to flee Cuba with $40 in cash and 2 weeks' worth of clothes. But luckily, Roberto was able to get a job at Coca-Cola in Miami. His hard work was noticed by CEO John Paul Austin, and he asked Goizueta to move to the company's headquarters. When Roberto arrived in Atlanta, he found a very different Coca-Cola than you would expect.
They were embroiled in some FTC fights and legal fights. Those companies always are. Problem with Coca-Cola is they allowed their leadership to get involved in the legal fight instead of turning it over to the lawyers. What they should do is keep running the business, growing the business, and they took their eyes off of it.
And if that wasn't enough, in 1975, Pepsi would come up with their greatest advertising campaign. No, not that one. It was the Pepsi Challenge.
Take the Pepsi Challenge. Let your taste decide.
Pepsi Challenge was essentially a blind taste test, and they gave people Coke versus Pepsi in 1 ounce cups and had people try both products and then indicate which one they liked better. And what they saw, and I think it was astounding to Pepsi execs as well, is that people had a strong preference, or more than 50% preference for Pepsi. And for them, that's wonderful fodder for marketing, because then you can actually tell consumers, look, you actually like this better if you don't know what you're drinking.
And Atlanta was just absolutely appalled.
In 1981, CEO John Paul Austin retired, and Coke was desperate for leadership. In this time of crisis, Roberto Goizueta was chosen to be CEO. He knew that to succeed, he would have to take risks.
Coca-Cola came out with a product called Diet Coke. People may think, well, that's no big deal. But there had been a Diet Pepsi for 20 years.
Diet Coke was just a monumental decision by the Coca-Cola company to literally put another name on the Coke. That was overturning the entire culture of what Coke was.
Roberto finally did what other Coke CEOs didn't want to do. He declared that there would be no sacred cows.
Roberto, at that time, he was trying to diversify Coca-Cola. He even bought Columbia Pictures.
Critics called the move a disaster. It produced $90 million in income per year and was later sold for a $500 million profit. Despite his success at the company, Goizueta still had one problem. Pepsi had surpassed Coca-Cola in supermarket sales, and if things continued this way, Pepsi could potentially get Coke's coveted fountain sales and become the #1 soft drink in America. So, Roberto was willing to take a risk that no other person in this world would have taken.
A new Coke changed the formula.
The Coca-Cola Company says it will announce on Tuesday what it modestly calls the most significant soft drink marketing development in the company's 100-year history. One newspaper report says the company will change its top secret 99-year-old formula for Coke.
The best soft drink, Coca-Cola, is now going to be even better. Simply stated, we have a new formula for Coke.
You know, you're 100% certain that this won't bomb, this new formula?
I think, as I said, I think this is the surest move ever. Because the consumer made it.
Roberto was put off his game because nobody ever challenged Roberto Goizueta. And all of a sudden he's being challenged. I mean, he's back on his heels. He doesn't know how to respond.
To what extent are you introducing this product to meet the Pepsi challenge?
Oh, gosh, no. I mean, that's Pepsi challenge. When did that happen?
And the press conference was a fiasco. It was over at the end of that press conference. New Coke was done for.
So how did people react to this nightmare? Basically, all of America sent letters that sounded a little bit like this.
What ignoramus decided to change the formula of Coke? The new formula is unexciting and it's as bad as Pepsi. Burn it.
There were protests, I think, on a daily basis for weeks and weeks in front of the Coca-Cola Company and in front of our headquarters.
I don't think I'd be more upset if you were to burn the flag in our front yard.
I would appreciate it very much if you signed this letter at the bottom and return it to me, because in years to come, the signature of the dumbest executive in American history is going to be worth a fortune. So I did sign at the bottom and send it to him.
I'm Don Keogh, president of the Coca-Cola Company. When we brought you the new taste of Coke, we knew that millions would prefer it, and millions do. And we knew that it would beat the taste of our major competitor, and it does. What we didn't know was how many thousands of you would phone and write asking us to bring back the classic taste of original Coca-Cola. Well, we read and we listened, and you know the rest. They're both yours, the new taste of Coke and Coca-Cola Classic. Your right of choice is back.
How in the world did Coke make such a mistake? Coca-Cola said that it conducted over 200,000 sip tests to compare new Coke to Pepsi, and that was the extent of their testing. Lucky for us, as Goizueta Business School students, we have access to a resource nobody would ever consider using: the library. And boy, did we find something that not even Coke knows. We found an unpublished diary and interview from the Director of Advertising Research at Coke, Richard Halpern. He revealed that Coke did all the research needed, but Roberto Goizueta never found out. The research was buried, and researchers discarded data that did not support product introduction, because the head of market research was determined to beat the Pepsi challenge at all costs. Coke performed in-home tests that showed that people preferred Pepsi to New Coke. And in focus groups, when researchers told participants to imagine that they would be removing old Coke from shelves to be replaced with new Coke, people in the focus groups responded a little bit like this.
What do you mean you're taking away my fucking Coke?
Many others responded just as politely. People focus on how Coke's research was improperly conducted, when it actually wasn't. But we are about to tell you what this story is really about.
The idea was to take a brand that was so ubiquitous that it was almost wallpaper, that it was everywhere so you didn't really take note of it. Well, New Coke was going to make everybody take note of it. We didn't anticipate that New Coke would flop, but it did. But it sure worked for the brand itself, for Coca-Cola, because now nobody took it for granted.
Coca-Cola is ridiculed for their mistake, but Roberto Goizueta had the last laugh. He turned a company that was in serious trouble into one that brought real value, not only to its shareholders, but most importantly to its customers. That is his real legacy, a legacy that followed a simple business principle. In business, the only thing that is constant is change. New Coke was just one moment out of hundreds from Roberto Goizueta's process of transforming the Coca-Cola Company into what it is today. New Coke shouldn't be remembered for bad research. It should be remembered for proving that Coca-Cola isn't just a soft drink. Because Coca-Cola is a universal expression of happiness that we share with those we love.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees